and welcome to the first episode of this new madness that me and your dear friend Holitash have decided to bring to you once more, because we love to torture ourselves with bad ideas and you love to watch. So here we are. A few years ago, and by a few I mean 2, in February 21, we did this thing we called 28 Days of Insanity. Later on it turned into 31 Days of Insanity, where we basically posted one new video every single day, and it was great. There was like bookish content in there and other challenges, foods and things. Then the following year, 2022, we didn't learn from our mistakes, so we did it again for a second year in a row. And then finally in 2023, we stopped ourselves before we had a bad idea and do it 3 years in a row. However, we do enjoy suffering still. That's something that has not changed, and we do enjoy over-the-top video concepts. They have a theme, but then they have twists, and they exist for us to regret them. So we decided to bring to you... Hold on, what was the name of this thing? So we decided to bring to you this project called Insanity Goes On, where we bring you one over-the-top video every single month on the first Sunday of each month. Roll the intro! I think that in general we were gonna try and stick to book-related content because we both need to read. Why are people like this? Like, why do we tell ourselves we need to read? Like, reading is a hobby. Why? Why do we tell ourselves we need to read? We don't need to read. You can read if you want, but you don't need to read. But yet, here we are doing weirdly concepted videos because we need to read. So this is the first video, and today we are going to be playing with ChatGPT, which, if you don't know, is the new Google, my dudes. So Google is old and used and tired, and apparently, ask any Gen Z around you, AI is where it's at. You might find it creepy, you might find it scary, but there's no running from it, because imagine someone telling you they don't use Google because they find it weird. You would like immediately run away from that person. So don't be that person, don't run away from AI, because I honestly think it's here to stay, and you might as well embrace it and, you know, get on with the technology. We're all getting old, and Gen Z is a weird place to be, but let's embrace them and embrace the things they've created. Actually, I don't know who created AI. I digress. Let's play with ChatGPT, which is one of the many engines that you can use to use AI. It's free, there's a premium version you can pay for. I don't know what extras you get, feel free to explore. But we're going to be using the free version of ChatGPT to find out which books we're going to be reading for this vlog. We have prompts that we're gonna ask ChatGPT to give us. I'm gonna do 2, Natasha's gonna do 2 others, and we're gonna use those prompts to talk to ChatGPT and hopefully find something interesting, and then we're gonna read that interesting thing for you and let you know how it goes. Don't forget, after you're done watching this video, to check out Natasha's video. The link is in the description of this one. And if you like this sort of over-the-top content with twists and vlogs and reading because we have to read, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Let's get started, and with this, I'll take you to past Manganet a few days ago when she was diving into ChatGPT to find the TBR. The first thing that I need to use AI to lead me to a book is tropes, which means I need to ask ChatGPT to give me books based on a specific trope. Now, I'm not too familiar with tropes in general. I mean, I know the basics, like just one bed, brother's best friend, enemies to lovers, friends to lovers. Those are the very basics, I think. But for sure I want to read a romance, because I think I'm going to use the other one for a thriller. At least that's the plan. But this I want to read a romance. So for starters, I'm actually going to ask ChatGPT to give me a selection of tropes in romance books, and then we'll go from there. So I've asked, what are the most used tropes in romance books? Because I feel like if it's a most used thing, it's also easier to find a book, then we'll match that. So we have enemies to lovers, friends to lovers, second chance romance, fake relationship. I actually like fake relationship. Also, obviously, I'm going to try and use a trope to find a book that I'm going to enjoy, so I should also find a trope that I also enjoy, or something that I haven't read but I'm curious. Forbidden romance, marriage of convenience, small town romance. I hate small towns. Amnesia romance. Oh my god, no. This trope involves a character who loses their memory and falls in love with someone who helps them recover it. Oh, well, alpha hero. I've never heard of this one. This trope involves a strong, confident, and often dominant male hero who falls in love with the woman who challenges him. Alright, let's get some more. Beauty and Beast, opposite drunk love triangle, harsh romance, sword romance, Time romance, paranormal, age gap romance, office romance. Office romance could be one. The second list is a bit meh. I don't like friends to lovers. I like enemies to lovers, but not friends for some reason. Second chance. This trope involves a character who were once in a relationship but broke up or were separated for some reason and then reconnect and fall in love again. I feel like this is the kind of trope that I wanna like, but I don't really. Fake relationship. This is good. I like fake relationships. Forbidden romance involves characters who are in love but face significant obstacles that prevent them from being together, such as different social classes or family expectations. Enemies to lovers, should we go with that? I feel like that's a bit basic, but fake relationship is also a bit basic. Okay, I'm gonna speed up through this process because I'm not even in the process of choosing a book yet. So I'm just gonna keep talking to AI and see what other tropes I can find. I think I'm gonna ask for book recommendations for the enemies to lovers, and I know I'm being a bit basic, but hear me out. Depending on the recommendations that I get, I might choose something from there or I might change and try something else. Let's just try it. So give me a list of romance books with the trope enemies to lovers. The Hating Game, read that. The Anna Honeymooners, read that, I really liked it. The Simple Wild, Pride and Prejudice, The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, The Kiss Quotient. I haven't read that one, I think, but I have it. Beach Read, I've read it. You Deserve Each Other, The Deal, Fletcher, Act by Leg Enemies, The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. That's like number 2 or something in the series, I think. The Bride Test, Red, White and Royal Blue. I'm gonna ask the same question again, but I'm gonna say published in the last 3 years with the trope enemies to lovers. Okay. Because like Pride and Prejudice, that's old. I don't want to read something old. So I said last 3 years and it gives me something from 2016. So I don't know when I mean, this is AI, so it's not always up to date. I think that's the downside of AI, is that it's not like just doing a Google research where you have things from literally 5 minutes ago. I think this has to have a cut-off date. So I don't know when each year they're stuck in. Well Met, I've never heard of that one. The White and Wild Blue, Fix Her Up, Fletcher, Headliners, The Life Blue Brown, The Worst Best Man, The Kiss Quotient, Boyfriend Material, The Roommate, The Player Next Door. Well, what if I ask, what are the most popular books under enemies to lovers trope? There's a lot of titles that are being repeated. Let's go with this list because it's more recent than the previous one and has a lot of famous things. Right, so I have from this list, You Deserve Each Other, Get a Life, Chloe Brown, The Kiss Quotient, and that's it in terms of the ones that I own but I haven't read. Then I was looking at my bookshelves and there's this book, Twisted Love, and I'm pretty sure this has a certain trope as well. So I'm just gonna ask him and see if he knows. What's the trope in... No. Again, maybe it's one of those things where the up-to-date data hasn't reached yet. So it's a forbidden love trope. In the case of Twisted Love, the main characters are step-siblings who are attracted to each other, which creates a forbidden element to their romance. Is it gonna be spicy? I mean, step-siblings. Oh god. But in order for me to be able to read this, I would have to get AI to give me it amongst the list. So let's try. Give me a list of books with the trope forbidden love. The Idea of You I also have, and the right swipe as well. So this is not showing up. Let's give it one more try, and if it doesn't show up on the second list, I'll put it away. Okay, it's not here. 2 more that I have showed up. So The Idea of You and the right swipe. So hold on. I feel like instead of having an easier job, my job is just getting harder and harder. So I now have 5 books that have been suggested by AI for things. Now, how do I choose between them? What if we get AI? Can you select one book for me to read if I give you a list of 5 titles? Sure, I can help you choose a book to read from your list of 5 titles. Just provide me with a list and any additional information about what you're looking for in a book. I'm looking for a fast-paced romance, easy to read, no hard topics, that has an audiobook available and that will make me giggle and have a good time while reading. Based on your criteria, I would recommend Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. It's a fun, fast-paced romance with witty banter and a quirky heroine. The story follows Chloe Brown, who is determined to get a life after a chronic illness has left her feeling stuck. But then again, I said no hard topics and a chronic illness. But their past traumas threaten to keep them apart. That seems very hard-hitting. I was hoping for something lighter and funnier. In that case, I would recommend The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hong. It's a light and funny romance with a unique premise. The story follows Stella Lane, a successful econometrician with Asperger's syndrome. Why is everyone has like problems in their life? Well, I guess that's just real life. The audiobook version is narrated by Carly Robin and is also highly recommended. The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. I guess this is gonna be our first read for this reading vlog. Exciting! I'm 54 pages into the book, going on to chapter 7, and I must say that so far it's delivering in terms of fast-paced. It's super fast-paced. We jumped into the action straight away. Straight away we got presented with Stella and her issues of thinking she's not good at dating and at having sex, and she wanted to fix it, and so she decided to pay an escort to teach her. One thing that I found weird was that, maybe that's just how it works, but she got him as an escort to teach her, and they were at a bar having a drink, and then immediately he was like, okay, let's go to the room and let's get this started. And then they started kissing and things straight away. I'm like, who does that? Who can kiss a stranger straight away? Don't you need some sort of warm up? And straight away she was very interested. So this person that supposedly doesn't like dating, is not very good at having sex, any of that, straight away she was very interested in him. Obviously it's convenient for the plot, but seems a bit unrealistic. But I think this is gonna get very steamy very quickly. Good morning. Yesterday, when I said this was fast-paced, I wasn't expecting it to be this fast-paced. I'm halfway through the book. I read it all in one go last night. It's so fast-paced. I was reading for hours in bed yesterday, and it was the first time in a very, very long time where I didn't actually feel the time passing by. Because recently for other vlogs, I've had times where I read for a while in one go, an hour and a half or whatever. But it's like I feel every minute of that 1 hour and a half passing. But with this, I didn't. Like, honestly, I was getting super tired at the end of it. And when I was like, okay, one more chapter, one more chapter, one more chapter. And when I put it down, I was super shocked with what time it was. And I couldn't believe I read for that long. Incredible. ChatGPT, thank you. Absolutely delivering it. It's time to continue reading. I'm going on to page 168. Still halfway through. I haven't picked it up since the last time we spoke. So let's get some reading done. And this book has been... it's a slow burn. Also, I realized the other day, hold on. The reason why I chose this, it's obviously for the tropes. And I asked ChatGPT to give me tropes for enemies to lovers. And then I tried forbidden romance. I don't remember if this appeared on the forbidden romance or not. However, the trope of this book is, I don't even know, fake dating? Hold on, let me get ChatGPT. What's the trope in the book? The Kiss Quotient. Wealthy hero hiring an escort or courtesan to teach them how to be better lovers, with the gender roles flipped. Is the Kiss Quotient a forbidden romance trope? No. What's the name of the main trope? He's thinking. What? I've never seen this happening. Why is it typing so slowly? Is it not sure? Fake relationship. Right, so the main trope is fake relationship. Oui, fair enough. It's not what I had asked ChatGPT to give me. Does this ruin the concept of this section of the vlog? Because in a way it doesn't, because this did show up on several lists when I asked ChatGPT. And it also has a trope, which is the point. However, this is not what it said it was, but it still is something, just something else. But does that mean that I shouldn't be reading this? Let's get reading. I had a quick break for dinner. It's time to resume reading. I'm going on to chapter 21. I only have this left. I'm making excellent progress, and I have to say that the few chapters I was reading before dinner They were very spicy. How do I put this into words nicely so that YouTube doesn't demonetize me? I think this is the closest to 50 Shades I've ever read in terms of the frequency in which the sex scenes happen and the intensity in which each one is described, and they are also very long. It's not like one page done, it's multiple pages. It's very spicy so far. I don't love that about books. I mean, it's making it being super fast to read, don't get me wrong. I'm here and I'm binge reading the book because it's interesting, and also because it still has that slow burn, even though, yes, obviously they're having sex, but they're also developing feelings for each other, so you want to see the feelings being developed. So there's the slow burn of that aspect, the romance itself. So it's making it very easy, fast-paced to read, which I love, but I don't know, I feel like I'm just reading a porno at sometimes. People write reviews of this book saying, oh, it was so much more than just sex. And maybe towards the end there's gonna be more. Like, obviously there's a little side story to it, but you barely get to read anything into it. It's just sex scene after sex scene after sex scene. And like I was saying, it reminds me exactly of how it was to read 50 Shades of Grey. I finished the book. I have mixed feelings about it. Obviously, we got to the resolution of the romance, the fact that they were slow burning for that romance. Obviously, it happened, but then, I don't know, it was so later on the story that I kind of wish there was more about that, because I'm a romantic soul, believe it or not. At the same time, would that be even interesting? Because it's always the chase. Everyone knows that the interesting part is the chase, not the day-to-day life. Then there was an epilogue a few months later, which I always appreciate. Love me a good epilogue. I love jumping forward in the story and knowing what happens after the story is finished. And that epilogue was so cheesy, and obviously everything was fixed. Every single problem that was mentioned through the book was fixed by then. So I have a lot of mixed feelings. The whole book I was considering it to be a 4 stars. At the end I was like, no, this is a 3 because this book is annoying me. But the whole book I was thinking it's a 4. So I ended up giving it 4 stars on Goodreads. Here's my review. And it's basically just a low 4, because I think it's slightly more than a 3, but not. A 3.90 maybe. I don't want to be too picky with my rating. A 3.90. But that's my appreciation of this book. I'm still happy I read it, and it's been on my bookshelf for ages. So I'm happy that it's finally done. Yeah, it was entertaining. Mostly it was a good fast-pacing book, which is ideal for people who, like me, have been in a major reading slump for months. I don't even know what you call it after a few months. There should be another name. Reading slump doesn't cut it anymore. The other task that I have to ask AI to give me a list for is, I liked X title, give me a book that has a title that is similar to it. So I went onto my bookshelves and I picked a couple of books that have titles that I enjoy, like the way it sounds, or I like words on them or something. Picture Us in the Light, and I'm obviously ignoring, or trying to ignore, it's obviously difficult to be unbiased with these kind of things, but I'm trying to ignore the story, the covers, the authors, everything, and literally just focus on the title. So Picture Us in the Light, The Kind Worth Killing. Reading this title would leave me intrigued straight away, like, why is there a kind that is worth killing? Starsight, I like things that remind me of space, and this is one single word that doesn't really mean anything but immediately related to space. Things You Save in a Fire. Again, it would make me intrigued. It's fun, like it evokes a list, right? Things you're gonna save in a fire. I don't even know if this way of asking a question is gonna work. Only one way to find out. Let's try. I like the way you move. The book, Things You Save in a Fire. Title, Sound. Can you recommend me another book that has a similar title? Oh, you only recommended one. Okay, let's have a look. The Things We Keep by Sally Hepford. The novel tells the story of two individuals, Anna and Eve, who are both living in assisted living facilities due to their respective conditions. I've asked for a list with more titles. The Memory Keeper's Daughter, The Light Between Oceans, The Language of Flowers, The Keeper of Lost Things, The Girl You Left Behind, The Things They Carry, The Lost Flowers of Paris, The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fly, The Art of Racing in the Rain, and The Story Life of A.J. Frederick. Write me a list with more books that have similar titles. They must have at least one word in common. The Things They Carry, The Things We Keep, All the Light We Cannot See, I have that one. The Fault in Our Stars, The Heart of Racing in the Rain, The House of Mango Street, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Help, The Curious Incident of Dog in the Nighttime, The Immortal Life. Alright, let's try with a different book. Skyward, which is the first one. Stardust, Starship Trooper, Star Trek, Star Maker, Star Born, Starless Night, Star Wars, Starfight, Star Trek. Right, okay, so I feel like we cannot go with this one because these recommendations seem very heavy on sci-fi and no thank you. Let's try Picture Us in the Light, but then it's gonna get the same recommendations that had the word light in there. But okay, Picture Us in the Light. The particular sadness of lemon cake. A young girl named Rose blah 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 who discovers she has a unique ability to taste the emotions of the people who make her food. Which year was it published? 2010. Does it have an audiobook? And it's approximately 9 hours and 31 minutes long. The audiobook is available on platforms such as Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. Let's have a look and see how the cover looks like. Never heard of this, and this would be an adventure. Which genre is it? Fiction, magical realism, fantasy, contemporary, food, adult fiction, and adult.
A few minutes later.
I did it. I ordered the book from eBay. I think this was my first ever order on eBay as well. I was Googling to see where could I find the cheapest one, second-handed obviously. But then, like, there's this cover that is really, really ugly. And then there's this second cover, which is not that ugly, but it's still very ugly. And here's me thinking, I usually don't care about covers. But here's me thinking, if I'm going to buy a book for this vlog on purpose, something that I've never heard of before, then I don't want horrendous covers. So I kept looking and looking, and I think that on eBay I got the correct cover. Fingers crossed.
2 days later.
My second book for this adventure has finally arrived from eBay. Let's open it, find out if they sent the correct edition. I think it's actually facing you. It is! Yay! I'm gonna start reading it and I'll give you an update a few pages in, but before that, I think we also need to appreciate the fact that it's a floppy book and the cover is like shiny and so soft. So it has potential. Whenever I like an edition of a book, like the size, the floppiness, the feel of the cover, I always want to like the book as well because of those things. It's an extra point on them. Let's see if it's the case with this one. I've been reading this book. I started the other day while I was in bed just before sleep. And then I read a little bit when I went to the hairdresser. Who is she? I took a book and I read out in public. Excuse me. To approach this, you know how I was happy this is floppy and whatever, but this is so like, it's so tiny, like the whole, it's so cute, it's so holdable. I'm going on to part 2 that says Joseph. Joseph is the brother of the main character. So obviously I haven't started yet, so I don't know if the narrator is gonna change. But so far we're following this girl who just turned 9. Out of nowhere she starts tasting people's emotions in food. And basically she realizes that despite her efforts to cover it, her mom is actually quite miserable. So her mom's food is very difficult for Rose to eat. And she's always trying to find excuses to eat something else. It all started obviously with lemon cake, but now it's like all the foods. Even at the cafeteria, in school, everything has a flavor, which is basically the emotions of the person who cooked them. Herself, Joseph, her brother, and one of his friends, George, the 3 of them go on this mission to try and figure out what is happening to her and what exactly is she tasting, because in the beginning she doesn't understand it. She just thinks the food tastes weird. So they go on this mission and she eats all these different foods and she's like, oh, this one tastes sad, this one tastes rushed, this one tastes like I hate my job. She's now starting to put the pieces together and realize what's happening. She's been to the hospital because she ate something that her mom cooked and she felt so miserable, she was inconsolable and she wouldn't stop crying. So her mom took her to the hospital and it was quite funny because when she was there they gave her some food and she was saying the hospital food tasted like, I think it was resentment. It's reading as a middle grade so far because we've been following her and she's only 9. So the language is very basic, it's a very quick read, and I have the feeling that this is gonna somehow have very important and very deep conversations about the importance of our feelings and emotions and acknowledging them, but also the fact that it's okay to feel different things. That's the way I feel this is gonna go, but I'll keep you updated when we read a bit more. I finished the book and this was such a weird book. I think this is magical realism. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is. And it was never great to start with, but it was a solid 3 stars for most of it. And then towards the end, it got really, really weird, and it ended up being an actual 2 stars for me. Here's my review on Goodreads, and it's just really weird. After I finished reading it, I went to read through other people's reviews to check if other people were thinking the same things that I was, and indeed they are. Basically, we're following Rose, and the book starts when she's 9 years old. She can taste people's emotions through the food they cook, and apparently the whole family is really weird because her dad is really absent and he has this uncontrollable fear of stepping into hospitals, and it makes him even miss the birth of his 2 children. And her mom starts having an affair with some guy called Larry out of nowhere, and her mom is obsessed with wood constructions, and she starts working for this shop just to be able to construct things in wood, and she makes this door at home for her older brother Joseph. It's really random and really weird. Anyway, so towards the end we also discover that was it the grandfather? I think the father's father had an ability similar to hers where he could actually smell people, smell the emotions they had. So he used to use a face mask over his face because he used to really disturb him. And her brother, Joseph, apparently can turn into furniture, and he was always disappearing all the time, and no one seemed to notice that except Rose. People would just think that he was going somewhere else, but she knew he was actually disappearing. And then one day she walks into his dorm room at university and he has turned into a chair, so he's sitting on the chair, but then she realizes that inside the legs of his trousers is not his own legs but the legs of the chair. So like she lifts the trousers fabric up, and it's the leg of the chair that is into the trouser and onto his shoes, and there's no human leg there. And she's like, oh my god, did he cut his leg off? And for a bit it was confusing. I wasn't sure what I was reading either. And then just turns out he turns into furniture, so sometimes he's a chair, sometimes he's a bed, sometimes he's a chest of drawers. And he does that because apparently he cannot deal with the reality of the world. It's the most random thing. And then on top of that, the weird absent father has this uncontrollable fear of hospitals. And when Rose asks about it, years later, the book spans through a bunch of years, he tells her it's because he feels like he could do something amazing if he stepped into a hospital, so he refuses to go. Feel like you can do something amazing, wouldn't you want to go and do it? But he thinks he's gonna step into a hospital and he's gonna be able to do something amazing, something good. He's scared of finding out what it is, so he refuses to step into hospitals. It was a really weird book. 2 stars, but the question is, did ChatGPT deliver what I was trying to? Yes, it did, because this book was recommended based on the title, and this is a very interesting title, and it's definitely something that I read the title and I'm like, that seems really fun, even though it's about sadness. It's definitely a title that I find interesting, which was the whole point of this second segment. It's a shame that the book wasn't that good, because that would have been a win-win situation, but ChatGPT did deliver this. And for the other book that I read on this vlog, also the other day, I realized they're both blue and yellow, which is a bit creepy, and I don't know if ChatGPT is onto something, but maybe they are. This one, I already spoke about it, and I really enjoyed reading this one. So in general, I quite enjoyed this experience of ChatGPT giving me books to read, because based on the things that I asked, I think I got what I asked for, and maybe I should just start basing my entire TBR for my entire life based on AI, because apparently AI knows things better than I do. Thanks for following along. I hope you enjoyed this silly little vlog. Don't forget, we're going to be doing this on the first Sunday of every month, so tune in on the first Sunday of June to find out what we're doing then. But meanwhile, go watch Natasha's video. The link is in the description of this one, and I'll see you very soon here on the channel with another video. Bye!